Please be seated. So I want to welcome all of you who've come from great distances to honor your children or relatives. And I want to stress that these students have worked very hard. Several have told me who are college graduates that NECI was much harder than their college experience. So, and we're here to celebrate those accomplishments. But before proceeding, I want to acknowledge the generosity of National Life Insurance Company. This venue is part of their campus, and they provide kitchens that serve as laboratories for our students. And this arrangement is reflective of the NECI approach to education. You know that we want our students to learn by doing in live settings. And here's a classic example of one. The students here have learned not only vocational skills, but they've been exposed to general education to a much greater degree than students at other culinary schools. And that's by design. We insist that students learn the history of great cuisines, apply their math skills to their vocational work, that they learn to write. Parenthetically, what other culinary school has a literary magazine? NECI does. That they complete a physical fitness requirement, a community service requirement, that the BA students learn Spanish because it's a language they will use as they manage others in the kitchen. So at a time when the price value of education is being questioned generally, I think that we should recognize the graduates today are very well prepared. And there should be no concern about employment, because these students, as part of the program, have had to hold down jobs for pay in the industry. That's one of the graduation requirements. So if you students have mastered the learning objectives that make up your program, you should be ready for the next step. By the way, parents, you should know at NECI, you cannot get an A in one course, an F in another course, average the two for a C, and graduate. No, you have to do it all here. You have to show mastery of every learning objective in every course to be able to be in one of these seats. So that's why it's tougher. One reason anyway. For those of you who are concerned about employment, all of these students should have a job prospect in mind. Online students, I presume, have already come from a position of employment, so you are returning to that same circumstance. But by comparison, let me just give you a few numbers from the Bureau of Labor Statistics that I think are shocking. Today, there are 1 million retail clerks in this country who have BA degrees. There are 115,000 janitors who have BA degrees. 15% of all the taxi cab drivers in this country now have BA degrees. That compares to 2/10 of 1% in 1970. So there is a disconnect between the preparation, the education students are getting at many places, and employment. I hope, and I presume that's not the story here today. One of the things that we constantly do at NECI is to reach out for business partners that can help you all understand the employment possibilities beyond commercial kitchens. And today I'm very pleased to say that our graduation speaker has come in response to that reach out. Vince Daniels is Vice President for Human Resources at Reinhardt Food Services. Reinhardt is our major food supplier at this school. And they, when asked, recommended Vince as the graduation speaker today. So thank you, Chris, Fernando, Mark, for that recommendation. Just to give you an idea of dollar volume, Vince is part of a company that does more than just distribute food. Total volume is $25 billion. His division is $6.5 billion. They have just hired a NECI grad. We have a NECI grad over here who's been working very successfully for them for a number of years. So the general point here is that graduates, you have job possibilities way beyond commercial kitchens. And by example, we're going to talk about some of those today. So let me just say a few words about Vince Daniels. You have his bio. I'm not going to read from it. I presume you've already read it. But he is part of a $300 billion industry. And that's just the industry that distributes food to places like NECI. Somebody has to bring the food to Reinhardt. And that's another several hundred billion. The National Restaurant Association says the dollar volume of restaurants in this country is approaching 600 billion. So if you begin to add all that up, your job prospects are very bright. And I have not even touched on equipment manufacturers, where a number of NECI grads have gone, large kitchens designed for corporate restaurant recipe testing, and so on. So, general message today, your future is bright. We also have two NECI grads who will speak to you. They are examples of graduates who've been entrepreneurial and gone out on their own and developed their own businesses. Again, a wonderful prospect for you when you think of the training you've had here. So, we hope that you leave full of promise, full of ideas after the ceremony. But to get us started, I'm going to ask Mr. Daniels to come up to this podium and tell his story. Vince?
Thank you so much. Wow, what an exciting day for you guys. I know what you're thinking right now. You're looking at your programs. I know you're doing it discreetly. Looking at your programs, you're looking, okay, he's number one, then there's number two, there's number three. that we're standing between you and the conclusion of your academics here at NECI. And, you know, frankly, you're standing between me and all the great food that we're going to eat. So, looking forward to that. Couple things. Last night I came in and I had dinner with Fran and some of the staff here, and Kevin showed me around the campus and showed me really the curriculum here at NECI. And I was actually pretty surprised. I was like, wow, these people work really hard. And he goes, oh yeah, they work really hard. And he said, you know, they have to do internships and they have to, you know, it's very hands-on. And, you know, he was telling me about, I guess, the lineup. You know, you guys have to line up and get checked out. Is that true? Is that a true statement? Okay. So, you know, it's not in my bio, but I was in the U.S. Navy for a while. And as I was thinking about this last night, I was like, wow, this was tougher than when I was in boot camp. So you guys have really done something special here. And I think this is one of the messages for you guys, as Fran mentioned a moment ago, from an employment standpoint, you guys are uniquely positioned for the job market. And the reason is that unlike others coming directly out of college, you've worked hard, okay? You know, as a college graduate, I can tell you, and many of you have graduated college, and you know, college is hard work. But it's different when you have, you know, a chef or someone who's berating you as you're doing it. No, I know they don't do that. So my message to you today is twofold. So I would be remiss if I didn't impart some few words of wisdom to you as you start your journey in the food service or food business. But before that, I really wanted to implore you to explore beyond the kitchen, because there are so many opportunities that present themselves to you, and you just have to be looking for them. You have to keep your eyes open for them, and you're going to hear that in a moment from our other two speakers. But there are so many more opportunities than just cooking. And I was telling Kevin last night, this reminded me of people who have a passion for music. And if you're a musician, you know, what do you want to do? You want to play the guitar, you want to play the bass, you want to play some other instrument. That's what a musician wants to do. But how big is the music business? It's gargantuan. Well, the only thing better than music is food. Take it from a big man. So I wanted to implore you to really look beyond that. So think about the fact that people have to produce food, right? And think about animals too. We have to do that for them. So we have to produce food. We have to test it. We have to purchase it. And we have to sell it. That's primarily my business, is selling groceries to restaurants. And if you think about people that are uniquely positioned to do that the best to chefs, is who? Chef. And so one of the things that we're doing as an employer is that we're working with, and it's sad to say this, but non-traditional universities and schools to try to attract that type of talent. And for those people sitting in the audience, I know you're thinking to yourself, that seems like common sense to me, Vince. Why wouldn't you guys be recruiting chefs to sell products to chefs? I know. I asked myself the same question. And we're going to start doing that as a company, and I'm imploring my industry to do the same. I spent a lot of time speaking to industry leaders, and frankly, it behooves my entire industry to do a better job of reaching out to culinary schools and trying to build relationships so that we can acquire this talent that's coming out of these great schools. Now, one of the things, though, that I want to impress upon you is, again, you are uniquely positioned, because I can tell you no other culinary institute does what you do. No one else positions you and trains you like this school does. And the reason why I know that is, as I was having dinner with some of your distinguished alumni and some of these faculty members, they are so passionate about this school. They're so passionate about what they do. And that's one of the things about food, and I always go back to music. Food is a passion. We call them, in my industry, we call them foodies. I don't know if you guys use that term or whatever. Are you a foodie or not? And so when I'm talking to people like the vice president of marketing for a $6.5 billion company, he's asking about, are you a foodie or not? You know who he's talking to? He's talking to a 22-year-old kid who's a pricing analyst. Okay? The fact is that you have a passion for our business, and you are uniquely qualified for it. So one of the things I wanted to impart with you as you start your journey is what I look for in leaders. I spend a lot of time developing leaders, and you guys are leaders today, and you'll be future leaders if you're not today. So you're going to be leading people in kitchens, you're going to be leading sales consultants, you're going to be leading others inside the food service industry. And so I wanted to share with you some competencies that I look for. And so I call these the 4 I's, okay? And so when I'm looking for talent or I'm looking for leaders, I look for these 4 foundational things because so many times we look for very minute things to determine whether or not someone's going to be successful. And so the 4 things that I look for, the 4 I's, the first one is intelligence, okay? Now, one of the great things is you've demonstrated a certain degree of intelligence because you wouldn't be sitting here, right? Okay, so you guys have already demonstrated that you have a certain degree of intellectual capital that's necessary to be successful in life. You've also demonstrated a certain degree of achievement orientation that says, I can muscle through this and apply it. And so one of the things I want to encourage you to do as you continue your journey is to always have what I call intellectual curiosity, because anybody can be smart. Well, almost everybody, at least my wife tells me. Everybody can be smart to some degree. It's the smart person who can impart information, okay? But it's the person who has an intellectual curiosity who's going to be the lifelong learner. So I implore you to continue to be a lifelong learner. I think it was Benjamin Franklin who said, every man is my better that I might learn from him. And that was one of the things last night that I kept picking up from the faculty and the staff here was the fact that one of the values that NECI impresses upon its students is humility. And so I will tell you now, you have to have intellectual curiosity that is based inside of humility, that every person is your better that you might learn from them. The second one, the second I, interpersonal. You can't be a jerk. I mean, jerks generally don't do too well, unless they coach the Patriots. Oh, sorry. Sorry about that. Sorry, forgot I was in Vermont. And I like Bill Belichick. No. But you can't be a jerk. You can't be a jerk. Can you be tough? Can you be tenacious? Absolutely. You've seen that from your faculty. Tough, tenacious, demanding, high expectations. Those are all great things. But no one likes a jerk. So you got to be able to play well with others, right? It's an important thing. So look for that in your folks and look for it in yourself. The third one is intensity. You have to have a passion. And the fact is, you guys have this passion. You have a passion for this business, but you have to be intense. Have you guys ever noticed, probably when you first got here, someone was telling you to tear parsley apart or something, and you were like, dude, it's just parsley. But they were intense about it. No, you got to do it exactly right. Attention to detail. Those types of things. A passion about something that someone else would look at and go, is that really important? But you have to have that intensity. And then the last one is an integrity. You must have integrity. I encourage all of you to look in your lives and think about the quote, I'm probably just paraphrasing here. Gandhi once said, a man cannot do evil in one part of life while doing good in another. Life is one indivisible whole. And so I encourage you to look at the way you're going to earn a living and weave it into your life and make it one indivisible whole. Don't compartmentalize. Don't leave your personal self at home when you come to work. Be one indivisible whole. Be the same person at work as you are at home. So, as I conclude my remarks here, again, you guys are armed uniquely for the workplace. I am so excited about you coming into food service industry. I really was. I didn't know much about NECI before I showed up yesterday. And I am so encouraged and excited about you guys joining the industry. I'm very excited about the talents that are going to be coming through. My last bit of advice to you is one as a consumer, and that's simply just put more food on the plate, please. Thank you.
This weighs a ton, and it's a cutting board made just down the road. This is Vermont maple and cherry, and we want you to accept it as a token of our appreciation.
Oh, thank you.
And because it's heavy, we'll ship it home for you.
Beautiful. Thank you very much.
So the next person I'm going to call up here, Sue Haas, took care of our dogs and our home when she was a student, and we wanted to take a break. So we know her well, at least I do. And then she had the wisdom to go back to my home state, Iowa. Yay. And so when I visited my family in Oskaloosa, yeah, there is an Oskaloosa, which is near Des Moines where she lives. If time permitted, I visited Sue. And what Sue had done, she's going to talk about here today, but she, in addition to her work, stayed in touch with NECI grads. And I don't know if they're still doing it, but roughly every month or two, they would get together and I presume tell good stories, but also enjoy some good food. She has gone on to join the executive committee of our Alumni Association, and she was nice enough to take time away from her job to come here today. You all know from reading her bio that she did not go right into work in a commercial kitchen. I think you started there but quickly moved on to do what she had always dreamed of doing, which was combining her major in English in college with her training at NECI. I know Sue's going to talk about that, and she's going to talk about the business that she has started since then. So please welcome Sue Haas, graduate of 1997.
Good morning. And graduates, I have one question for you. Now what? When I graduated from this place in 1997, that question was burning on my brain, and I never imagined that 16 years later I'd be standing here talking to you about my career in some really high-heeled shoes. No, and when I was where you are now, all I knew was where I did not want to be, which was in a commercial kitchen. Now, I did time there, and I enjoyed my time there, but I had visions of being a food writer. And with degrees in both the food part and the writing part, I figured that I'd get there somehow. And I did. Now, never underestimate the power of being in the right place at the right time, because I was. But it wasn't all luck either. My education here was absolutely pivotal, because for over 10 years, I wrote about braising short ribs and piping meringue and making pie dough, and there is no way I could have done that intelligently or authoritatively without first learning the language of them right here. When I and my business partners launched Main Dish Media in 2009, we donned our entrepreneurial hats and offered our editorial expertise, recipe development, photography, food styling, and video skills to corporate clients. But as any entrepreneur knows, New ideas are paramount to success, and you find yourself constantly asking, where's the need, where's your passion, and how do you become remarkable? So in early 2012, I helped open a coffee shop in my church, which serves as a job training site for a school in the Des Moines public school system for intellectually challenged students. During the school year, the students arrive every morning and do everything from making and serving coffee drinks to greeting guests, bussing tables and washing dishes. Does this sound familiar? Running the cash register and working with me in the kitchen, baking pastries and cookies that are in turn sold in the shop. And there, in those one-on-one baking sessions with the students, I am convinced that there is a real need for instructional cooking material that caters to the intellectually challenged community. The students love to cook with me, and they are extremely capable, and there is nothing out there to help them. Thus, Main Dish Media's digital magazine, Look, Cook, and Eat, was born. Now, it is still in its infancy. I mean, I don't even think it's born yet, but the idea is there, and there's a lot to be worked out, but I have a passion for seeing it through because my sister is intellectually challenged. And I know firsthand how hard it is for her and her peers to find materials to fit their needs. While creating something out of thin air is painful at best, I am so excited to think about the possibilities that this project has and the help that we can give to other people. And I can tell you too that this certainly was not top of mind when I was sitting in those seats right now. So I guess the moral of my story is you just never know. The food world, even now, is vastly different than it was when I graduated. The Food Network is around, slow food and local food movements are hot, CSAs and farmers markets, big deal, craft breweries, food blogs, gadgets for every kitchen task imaginable. Do you have a mango cutter? I don't know about that. Food trucks and pop-up restaurants, Google recipe searches, and heirloom cows and pigs and turkeys and tomatoes. I'm telling you, the opportunities for you are truly endless. And we've all touched on just a tiny portion of what's out there for you. With a culinary degree, you can do it. I can't give you a playbook on how to break into the business that isn't commercial kitchens, but I can confidently say that you are equipped with the tools you need to open the doors you want to open. If there is no door, make one. I know you have the recipe for that too, even though you may not think you do right now. One final thing. You are mere minutes away from becoming alumni of this great institution, and as the vice president of the alumni board, I want to be the first to congratulate you and welcome you to this esteemed club. The board will be working very hard to be in touch, stay in touch, and find out about all the things you're doing, your successes and your failures too, because we need to know what you needed to know to not fail in order to teach further generations of NECI students. I look forward to meeting as many of you as I can later on today, and I'm excited for the work we can do together to make New England Culinary Institute what I think is the best culinary school in the United States. Thank you, congratulations, good luck.
I'm getting a workout. So we have a cutting board just as heavy as Vince's.
I'm
For
glad
you?
I don't have to check it in my luggage tomorrow. That's good.
No, we'll send it home for you.
Thank you.
But thank you for coming.
Thank you. That's great. Thank you.
So, for faculty who've been here for a while, I have a question for you. How many of you would have predicted that the next speaker would become the spice guy? No hands going up? Well, No surprise. Philip Abbott graduated with distinction in 1999, I believe, and worked in a commercial kitchen and got the bug to start his own business. And he's going to tell you what that's been like. But in that process, he has become the spice guy for the leading restaurateurs, the leading chefs of the Midwest. For him to do that, he has either 400 or 500, depending on the literature you read, spices in his inventory. And last night I heard the total weight of those spices was about 40,000 pounds, is that right? A lot to keep track of. And if you read the literature too, his clients are asking him, where did this cinnamon come from? So he has to know the sources, he has to know how to store them properly, he has to know how to market them properly, and on top of that, how to be a father of 4 children and a good husband and a good father for a 5th that's on the way. So, without further ado, let me ask Philip to come up as our last speaker.
Wow, I'm humbled to go after you guys. That was amazing. I'm happy to be here today. It feels like I'm home. What lessons have you learned in your years here at NECI? Which lessons will you rely upon for your success? You've no doubt learned a range of culinary skills. You know how to choose ingredients. You know how to blend them, create marvelous dishes. I'm sure you all can probably delight even the toughest customers today, right now. But beyond the culinary skills, you've probably learned some other lessons as well. I know that I did, and the other lessons continue to serve me, even though I left here 14 years ago. Many of you know NECI's founding chef, who was involved with Fran, Chef Michel Leborgne. I was one of the last classes to go through for him. He's an accomplished French chef. When he decided that he would take his culinary skills, leave the kitchen and teach. So he also chose a different path. And one of my most memorable lessons came from Chef Michel. At the time I was here, I was one of the last students to go through a class that he taught. And during that class, in the beginning, I'd done some extra cleaning work that no one usually did, and I did it without being told so. Not to kiss up to him because I was scared to death, let's be honest about that. He told me to remind him on the day of the final exam, and that would be worth a bonus. At the end of the class, we had the final written exam. The chef had us grade each other's papers and was going around the room asking everyone for their final scores. I was the last student to be asked for their score, and when Chef said, well, what's your score? I said, well, Chef, that depends, because you said there'd be a bonus. So, you know, once you give me that, I'll give you the score. Looked at me and he quietly said, Philippe, what was your score? I said, well, Chef, as soon as I know the bonus, I'll add it in and tell you what the score is. He said it one more time very quietly, and he said, Philippe, what was your score? I said, well, Chef, again, if you tell me the score, I'll do that. The final time, he slammed his fist on the table. He said, Philippe, you tell me your score. So again, fear instilled in me. I said, well, Chef, I had 100 on the exam. He was very cross. He looked right at me, and without missing a breath, he said, -7 for wanting more when you don't need it. I still have that paper. I still have a 93. This is one of the many lessons I learned at NECI. Another part of my experience here was to have a huge impact on my life. It turned to be out when I learned in the purchasing class. Before I attended here, I had worked in restaurants, and I never fully understood the relationship with my vendors, people like Vince here, it's just as important. And to expect from your vendors the best quality, the best service, and at a fair price. You'll now put into practice lessons that you've learned here at NECI. This will undoubtedly take you to many new places. If you stay rooted in these things you've learned, amazing things can and will happen. During and after graduation, I found myself moving to different parts of the country to experience different regions, foods, climates, cuisines. And prior to attending NECI, I had a mentor in Wisconsin who owned a spice shop. He was outside of Madison, and he would prove to be another influence in my culinary career. As it was here that I got the bug for blending and sourcing spices, because wherever I found myself working, there was always fresh produce, there was fresh proteins, seafoods, meats, fruits, vegetables, but spices, second-rate spices, always seemed to be the rule and not the exception. I saw a need in the culinary industry and decided I would leave the kitchen and attempt to fill this void. During my time at NECI, I thought for sure I would eventually have my own restaurant. I wanted to be chef and I wanted to be chef owner. The vision for my business, however, was realized. It was not to be a restaurant, but it was to be Terra Spice Company. I had this dream of cooking in my own restaurant, and now my substitute for cooking would become sourcing and blending spices. Once again, my foresight would be short, as the majority of my time would not be spent doing this, but would be spent in other areas: finance, law, human resources, time management. Luckily, my training at NECI had given me the skills and knowledge to face adversity by being comfortable only when I'm uncomfortable, as I am now, speaking to you. As a business owner, I now find a good portion of my time spent being a banker, a lawyer, a politician, all in a mini infrastructure that we've created out of nothing. The learning by doing NECI lessons continue to serve me well. Recently, I found myself eating dinner at one of my customers' restaurants in Michigan and was sitting at the bar. The very talented mixologist who was serving us had been a chef in California and then a pastry chef, now finds himself behind the bar. Another one of my customers was sitting next to me, also a chef, now the head brewmaster for a microbrewery. Neither one ended up as the chef of the kitchen in their own restaurant. Both had taken their culinary knowledge and applied it with their experience and applied it in different settings. Many opportunities await you in the culinary field. NECI is your starting point. Where will you go? Hold on to your vision while being open to new possibilities. Use your lessons gained from NECI and continue to learn by doing. It's my pleasure and my honor to share in your exciting day, and I look forward to one day hearing about your success, whatever it may be. Thank you.
Surprise, surprise. We have a cutting board for you.
Now my wife will expect me to cook at home.
All right. We won't send this. We'll just give it to you, okay, Lori?
Thank you very much, you guys.
The next person I want to introduce is Kathy Fink, who's our Senior Vice President for Academics. Kathy has a long, distinguished career in technical education. She was the Director of Technical and Adult Education for the state of Vermont from 1997 to 99, and the principal of the largest technical school in the state for 12 years before coming to NECI. And while she was there, she set up an international business program with a special focus on China. And that involved Chinese people coming here. And she's doing the same now for NECI. So please welcome Kathy Fink, our Senior Vice President for Academics.
Good morning. It's my great honor to introduce our student speakers this morning. Our first student speaker, Keith McCormick, has earned an AOS degree in baking and pastry and a BA in hospitality restaurant management here at NECI. He completed a fellowship at NECI this past April. He then moved into an admissions role, providing chef demos in technical schools and high schools throughout New England. His NECI instructors describe him as a student who makes connections between theory and his experiences, applies content in practical ways, and always pursues excellence and expects that of others as well. Please join me in welcoming Keith McCormick to the podium.
an honor it is to be speaking for you all today. There's one person I actually haven't told that I would be speaking today, and that was my mom. And although cruel, I chose to leave that out because I thought it would be a fun surprise. I've had many great experiences here at NECI as a student and instructor in the fellowship program. I learned how to love and appreciate food, and that's something that all of our graduates have in common, our passion for what we do. However, my words today are themed not around food, but around people. This is where I've had my best experiences at NECI. The people that I met throughout my time here have shaped me into the person that I am today and the person that they always knew I could be. I want to tell a story about kind of my favorite person. My assigned roommate when I first arrived at NECI was named Doug, and he was a bit intimidating for anyone who may have known him. Although the first couple weeks were rocky with Doug, I found that under the surface, he was a lot like me. If I hadn't been open-minded about him from the beginning, I would have missed out on a great friend that would give me the support and comic relief to get me through my education. Over time, I helped him be more confident in himself, and in return, he taught me the importance of being humble. It seemed that the end of our program came too fast. I tried to convince Doug to come back to NECI for his bachelor's, even though I knew that it wasn't a good fit for him. As it turns out, I just wasn't ready to say goodbye to my best friend yet. It seems that our time is always being cut short. I urge you, don't waste time. Don't waste time when getting to know and appreciate the people around you. I promise that they're amazing, but sometimes you just have to look hard enough to see it. Don't waste time going for a job that you don't love. If you never give up on the dream of a perfect job, someday you'll find it. Just be patient. Being a professional does not mean you need to sacrifice yourself for your job completely. Most importantly, don't waste time when learning. Be graceful when giving feedback, and be gracious when receiving it. Be open-minded when learning from others, because there is always something that they know more about than you. Finally, be great at what you do, but remember to be humble along the way. Thank you.
Our next student speaker is a graduate from the online bachelor's degree program in hospitality restaurant management. Yzette came to NECI with an AOS degree in culinary arts from CIA and extensive culinary experience in fine dining, full-service catering, and service-style settings both in the U.S. and in Eastern Europe. Her life experiences include extensive travel in Europe, Asia, and the U.S. She has been a straight-A student and a fine contributor to our hospitality restaurant management program at NECI. Please welcome Yzette Berlingeri to the podium.
Good morning, fellow graduates, guest speaker, family, faculty, and friends. Thank you all for coming here today to join us in this very special day. It is an honor for me to be here and to speak on behalf of our online bachelor program and to celebrate together our accomplishments. As August Escoffier once said, good food is the foundation of genuine happiness. And if you are like me, then you can relate to this idea, that through food, we can change attitudes, evoke emotions, and influence happiness. While very enchanting, we chose this path knowing that this profession is a very demanding vocation. We do work long hours, away from our family and friends. We are exposed to stressful situations, and the reality is that this vocation is not as glamorous as many seem to portray to be. But we do it because we share a passion for food and for making others happy through our work. I made the decision to enroll in this online bachelor program 2 years after what it seemed to be a very, very, very long time career in the kitchen. I realized that our industry has changed dramatically, and to become a successful chef, owner, and professional, we must learn all aspects of our industry. I was very happy to find that this program not only helped me to acquire a new set of skills and improve my knowledge, but I was able to do it remotely and while I work a full-time job. However, this program here at the Institute was challenging, particularly for a working professional like many of us. There were many late nights, reading on the go, and even very few stressful situations, but it was all worth it, and it reminded me that it's never too late to have an education. Regardless if you pass with flying colors or not, we're all walking away from here better, smarter, and more knowledgeable than we were before, and that makes me truly happy. Our profession is a very peculiar one. No matter what line of work you do in our industry, we all have something in common. Customers come to us not because they want to or because they have to. It's just because they truly enjoy and want to have our food and see our work. So it is to our duty to serve them with loyalty, honesty, integrity, and transparency. I want to take a moment and draw special attention to the point of integrity, because I feel this is an area in our industry that we must be cautious about going forward. As industry leaders and professionals, it is important that we recognize that the kitchen has become a safe haven for many of us. How many of us will hire or have hired employees who were on a downhill path in their life, and the kitchen has saved them from a troubled future? Look at the number of programs on underprivileged individuals and notice how many of those programs are food industry related. While these programs are exceptional, there are also opportunities. Opportunity to teach integrity, opportunity to teach honesty, opportunity to teach honor. In order to retain our customer faith in our industry, we cannot allow the question of credibility or honesty to stick in our ranks. I challenge each and one of you to go out there and be role models and good mentors to our peers and employees, and to raise the bar and practice good social responsibility. I want to close with a final word about all of us as a collective alumni group. After today, we are all going in different paths, and from time to time, our path may cross with one another within the industry. When we do, remember that we are all part of a society, a culture that we can and should be extremely proud of it. The culinary profession has grown over the recent decades, and don't ever feel that your work does not impact others, because it does, even more than you are aware of it. I wish you all a strong and prosperous foundation for a successful career in the culinary industry. Thank you and good luck.
And now in the program, it's my honor to introduce the faculty speaker. Chef Sarah Langen came to NECI in 1991 and established a strong reputation for her content expertise with both students and staff. She was chosen by her colleagues to represent faculty as a speaker today. She is an excellent teacher, a strong student advocate, and a respected colleague. And let's not forget that she can be pretty adamant about brigade. William Butler Yeats once said, "Education is not the filling of a pail, but the lighting of a fire." Please help me welcome someone who knows how to really light some fires, Chef Sarah Langen.
We're going to start the way I started many of my tastings with you students, with a little breathing. You remember, in with the good, out with the bad. Let me do it one more time. In with the good, out with the bad. Ladies and gentlemen, distinguished faculty, administrators, friends, and family, and of course the graduating class of 2013. I want to say hello, congratulations, and thank you for bestowing this honor of being the faculty speaker at your graduation. Some of you know that I've been teaching here for the past 22 years, and what some of you may not know is that this is my last official duty of my tenure at the Institute. I've been presented with an opportunity to become the executive chef and education director at Lake Champlain Chocolate's brand new venture in Burlington, Vermont. We will be making bean-to-bar chocolate, local small batch premium ice cream, as well as running a cafe with savory items, and probably the most exciting aspect for me is that I will continue to teach in a large state-of-the-art demo kitchen. Now, when it came to naming the space, I quickly piped up that my dream that I had always shared with my students was to call it Chef Sarah's Palace of Taste and Flavor. Needless to say, that did not make it onto the short list of possible choices, but we have settled on the South End Kitchen at Lake Champlain Chocolates, and I do like it for its sense of place. I will just secretly call it my Palace of Taste and Flavor. So I look back the last 22 years and thought of some of the previous graduation speeches I've heard. I've never missed a graduation, and they all seem to fall into 3 categories. The first type is what I call the Peace Corps speech. The speaker motivates you to forsake mainstream job, money, credit cards, and student loans and go off to the third world and teach people how to grow and cook food. The second type is the Good Citizen speech that motivates you to become a productive participant in your community, build a new food society, proliferate food literacy and sustainability. The world is at your feet and you can make a difference. The third is the current affairs speech, where a distinguished person talks about the current mess that we're in and what you can and should do to solve it. Now, don't get me wrong, we've had some excellent world-class speakers at NECI Graduations too. Alton Brown, Danielle Ballou, Gavin Kaysen, to name a few. But I, however, have no such aspirations for you. Instead, I'd like to talk to you about how graduation has always been my favorite day of the year. It's the day that faculty and administration feel truly validated. The day that all of the lesson plans, the labs, the teaching, the evaluating, they all seem worthwhile. Please know that when you cross that stage, this stage, and receive that diploma, we know what it took to get you there. And it wasn't easy, and it took a lot, and it means a great deal. Inevitably, the graduates approach us and thank us for what we taught them and how it's paid off on their internships. They might also mention that they will never forget when they were sent home to iron their uniform or polish their shoes, or how we taught them the theory of stock making, or how they were so grateful that they knew how to make a consomme or a souffle on internship when the other intern from the other school did not. We know that you are now part of an elite group for life, a NECI graduate. I've had the opportunity to teach nearly each and every one of you in my course, Sensory Analysis. And I hope that you remember that on the first day, I always made the claim that when you finished my class, that you would never think about food the same way as you came in thinking about it. I almost always remembered, upon completion, to ask you if I did that. And you all said you did, and that always made me happy. I taught you about the 5 basic tastes and how they interact with each other, and ultimately how they interact with wine. I spoke endlessly about balance. Not only balance in your food or on your plate, but balance in your life. You've chosen this path, and I'm certain by now you know it's not the easiest. It's all-consuming. It's our passion. But if I leave you with anything, please remember to attempt to maintain balance. Read a little every day, exercise a little every day, spend time with those you love a little every day, no matter your schedule. And I now have recently added, eat a little bit of really good chocolate. If you do these things and you can remember to balance, you will last a little bit longer and be able to follow this path that you love. You will start to see, as I do, that life truly is food and food truly is life. In parting, I hope some of you have taken some of my advice that I've given you in class. How to never be without a good bottle of champagne in your refrigerator because you never know when you're going to have to celebrate something. Don't forget my other quote, that life is too short to drink crappy wine. And once again, congratulations, and please come visit me at Chef Sarah's Palace of Taste.
Each year, the NECI Alumni Board chooses one alumnus as the distinguished graduate. From the many nominees, Phil Abbott was chosen for this recognition this year. His entrepreneurial ventures have received both our notice and our respect. As you heard in his graduation address, he makes personal connections an important component in his business model. He's not shy, he's not complacent. He takes great pride in his work, and we take great pride in counting him among our alumni and now among the very elite group of NECI Distinguished Graduates. Please join me in welcoming back to the microphone one of our graduation speakers and also the NECI 2013 Distinguished Graduate, Philip Abbott.
So of course I didn't think about speaking twice, so this is off the top of my head. This means a lot to me. I did graduate with distinction, really applied myself at NECI. You are going to be part of an alumni, and our success for our past is also based on the future success. So to support this school, it feels like coming home. I'm in the throes of buying. I bought a building, we're renovating it. We're working out of a shoebox because we lost one of our storage facilities. When Fran emailed me and told me about this, I looked at my wife and said, this is just the worst possible timing that this could ever happen, which is true of all things NECI, isn't it? It's like, this is just, I can't handle this. I really didn't prepare anything, but this means a great deal to me. I appreciate all of you as you continue to apply yourselves and give everything you've got to be successful. So once again, thank you very much to all of you.